They told her to sit on the floor, like she was nothing. But what she did next shocked everyone in the room, because she refused to bow. Long ago, in the heart of Central Africa, there was a kingdom called Ndongo, a land rich with life, covered in forests, rivers flowing through its soil, and people who lived with pride and strength. But this was also a time of danger, because far away, across the ocean, a powerful force was rising, and it was slowly making its way toward African lands, the Portuguese. They did not come quietly. They came with ships that cut across the ocean waves, with guns that made loud thunder sounds, with soldiers trained for war, and with a plan that was simple but dangerous. They wanted control. They wanted land. They wanted power. And most of all, they wanted people. Because during this time, something dark was growing across the world: the slave trade. Human beings were being captured, sold, and treated like objects, like goods, like something that could be owned. Villages were attacked without warning, families were torn apart, children were taken from their parents, men and women were forced into chains, and those who survived were sold. Ndongo was not safe from this. And in this kingdom there lived a young girl named Nzinga. She was not just any child. Even from a young age, there was something different about her. While others laughed and played, Nzinga watched. She listened. She paid attention. She watched her father, the king, as he spoke with advisors, as he handled problems, as he made difficult decisions. She noticed how people reacted to power. She noticed how respect was earned and how fear was used. She was learning. And slowly, she began to understand something many people never realize. Power is not given, it is taken. As she grew older, her mind became sharper. She spoke with confidence. She asked questions. She challenged ideas. And people began to notice her not just as a princess, but as someone with intelligence. But outside the palace walls, things were getting worse. The Portuguese were becoming stronger. Their influence was spreading. They built trading posts. They formed alliances. And they continued to capture people. The pressure on Ndongo increased. War began to feel closer. Nzinga's father tried to resist. He fought to protect his people, to defend the land, but it was not easy. The Portuguese had weapons that were new, powerful, and deadly. They had support, they had resources, and slowly the kingdom began to weaken. Then one day, everything changed. The king died. The kingdom was left in uncertainty, and Nzinga's brother took the throne. But he was not like her. He ruled with fear. He made harsh decisions. He became suspicious of everyone, even his own people. And under his leadership, the kingdom grew weaker. At the same time, the Portuguese continued to push forward. They wanted more land, more control, more people. The situation became dangerous. And that was when Nzinga stepped forward. She did not come forward with anger. She did not rush into war. Instead, she offered something unexpected. She offered to negotiate. She would go to the Portuguese, face them directly, and try to find a way to protect her people. It was a bold decision, a dangerous one, but she was ready. When she arrived, she entered a room filled with tension. Portuguese officials sat on chairs, dressed in authority, confident and looking down at her. And in the middle of the room, they placed a mat, not a chair, a mat. It was not a mistake. It was a message. You are beneath us. But Nzinga understood what they were doing, and she refused to accept it. Without anger, without shouting, she turned to one of her servants and gave a quiet command. The servant stepped forward, lowered himself to the ground on hands and knees, and then Nzinga did something no one expected. She sat on the servant's back, at the same height as the Portuguese. The room went silent, because in that moment she had sent a message without speaking. I will not be beneath you. From that day forward, the Portuguese saw her differently.
She spoke with intelligence, she negotiated carefully, she protected her people, and for a short time there was peace. But peace did not last, because the Portuguese were not there to cooperate, they were there to control. And soon war returned. This time, Nzinga was no longer just a negotiator. She became a leader. She became queen, not just in name, but in action. She began to rebuild strength. She formed alliances with neighboring groups. She brought people together, and she built an army. But she did something even more powerful. She welcomed those who had escaped slavery, people who had lost everything, people who had nothing left to lose, and she turned them into fighters. Her army grew, stronger, more determined, more fearless. Nzinga did not fight like others. She did not rely on strength. She relied on strategy. She moved quickly. She attacked when the enemy was not ready. She used the forests as protection. She disappeared and returned stronger. The Portuguese struggled because they were not just fighting a queen, they were fighting a mind. Years passed, battles continued. Sometimes she won, sometimes she lost, but one thing never changed. She never gave up. Even when she lost ground, she adapted. Even when things became difficult, she changed her strategy. And slowly, she built something new, a new kingdom, Matamba. This became her base, her power. From there, she continued to fight. Her name spread across lands. They told stories of a queen who refused to bow, a queen who refused to surrender, a queen who refused to be controlled. Even her enemies began to respect her, because they had never seen anything like her. A woman leading armies, a woman outthinking her enemies, a woman standing strong in a world that expected her to fall. Years turned into decades, and still she fought. Not just for land, not just for power, but for freedom, for dignity, for her people. And in the end, something remarkable happened. After years of resistance, after years of war, Nzinga forced the Portuguese to do something they did not want to do: negotiate. Not from a place of weakness, but from a place of strength. She had done what many thought was impossible. She had stood against a powerful empire and survived. And when her story finally came to an end, she was no longer just a queen. She had become something more. A symbol of courage, a symbol of resistance, a symbol of strength. And even today, her story lives on, because Queen Nzinga reminds us of something powerful, that strength is not about size, that power is not about position, and sometimes the people who change history are the ones who refuse to bow. They told her to sit on the floor, but she chose to rise instead.